In 2023 there has been some fantastic new irons brought to the market, and today we're going to talk about the top 3 for the higher handicapper golfer, for the entry-level golfer. But for me, I don't think it's just for that, but it's all down to obviously looks, and looks is what people decide on their golf clubs to be able to show off to their friends more. Let's get straight into it. And number 3 on the list of our top 3 is a club that has been on the channel recently, is one that I did say was the best potentially from their range this year, and one that is ever so easy to hit. You can do everything with it, but it's number 3 for a reason. Let's talk why. Now, we are obviously talking about the TaylorMade Stealth HD iron. So a new iron on the range from TaylorMade, one that wasn't on there previously, and one that's really, for me, opened up a lot of a market for them, because obviously normally with TaylorMade they've got the P790, which is again very forgiving and looks much sleeker, but this one is probably for your senior golfer, for somebody getting into golf where you're wanting ultra forgiveness, you want something down at the ball that looks nice and big, feel like you can hit it anywhere on the face and you're still going to get your distance. And that's certainly what I've found, and I'm going to show you here with another shot that we can do everything with that trajectory to get the ball to land how we want it. If we want landing angle or coming in low, we can still see we can play those shots and have control. Now, performance is fantastic with these irons. The sound and feel is great. It can get you that higher launch, but the one big thing that puts people off for me is obviously those look. Is the end of that club there. Looks very chunky. Again, top edge there. We can see that we can actually see the back of the club down at an address. And for me, when I speak to golfers, whether it's in comments, whether it's in person, a lot of people do put down their club selection down to looks. And comment below, guys, would that be something that bothers you? I had a golfer in here the other day who was very much like, all I'm bothered about is performance, I'm not bothered about feel, I'm not bothered about sound, and I'm also not bothered about look. So they would have bought any club, but for me, a lot of people put this down and go, no, it looks terrible. But obviously it's all down to performance, and this club can really tick all the boxes for a lot of golfers. Their launch is nice and high, feels really good. The large sole on the bottom of these clubs, great interaction with the turf. That's pin high, had a little bit of spin, but ever so easy to hit. So a lot of it is down to ego. Another thing for me when we're talking about these kind of golf clubs for the higher handicapper, for the handicapper in the teens maybe, they're often very much draw bias. So a lot of people do lose the ball to the right, they do hit a slice. But for me, that is kind of a plaster covering over a few scratches, because obviously there it's not going to help you start to change your technique. If you're having lessons and these clubs might start to overdraw, then you need to buy some new clubs. But if you're not having lessons, then they are perfect. It can help you with that draw bias. For me, I'd be certainly fighting that, and if you don't look into this when you go and get fitted, you might not know, and these clubs might not be perfect for you. So obviously the next club we go to, in number 2, also has that little bit of offset, which can help anybody who's slicing the golf ball. Now, if we talk about number 2 on the list, again, bag appeal is a lot better. Obviously, we can see the looks of this Tacomo 101 iron is a lot sleeker, a lot more like your P770, your P790 certainly would look in your golf bag, and people wouldn't instantly be thinking higher handicapper. Again, with this iron from Tacomo, it is on the range with that little bit of offset. It has got that thicker top edge, which you'll see on screen now. And that's again filling me with confidence, but looking down at that golf ball, I cannot see the back of it. So I hit a mid iron on the first, that was a 7 iron. Until you get to around about the 9 iron with the HD irons, you can still see the back of the club looking down. So it certainly looks like a hybrid iron, which again, if you don't mind the looks of that, for me, those clubs are absolutely fantastic. Tacomos now are ticking that box of obviously look. So obviously looking at those, the bag appeal, they certainly look good down at the golf ball. They look exactly what you'd expect from other clubs in this area of the game. So you'll see exactly what you would expect from this iron. We've got that thicker top edge, a longer blade length. You can see that offset down there, which, as we know, for this kind of ability and this kind of handicap, I would say 95% of golfers do lose this ball to the right. So they do have that little bit of a fade. So this is certainly going to help them out. So with this kind of club, maybe we're not trying to get too much versatility, although we certainly did with the Stealth HD. Let's see how this feels. Again, launch pretty low. Not the best swing. I've got that forgiveness. Still curved a little bit to the right, but that would have been a big slice for me there, potentially, because that wasn't my best swing. Still felt good, launched pretty good, and distance, we've still got out there. Now with both of these options that we've just talked about at number 2 and at number 3, we have got obviously the ability to be able to combo set these. So with the HD irons, you could potentially have those in your longer irons and then go into the P790s in the lower end of your bag, just to get that little bit of a sleeker look and feel like you've got a little bit more control. The same with the Tacomos, we could go from the Tacomo Mo101s in your longer irons with the offset, then go down into the 101Ts that have less offset, and again will just give you that little bit more workability potentially. And even at your handicap, you've got to think about how long are you going to have these clubs, because if you go for these clubs and you're really having lessons working on your game, you might want to change after a year. Combo set could be perfect. Now for me, number 1 will probably be no surprise, it is the Ping G430 irons. So for me, Ping is very much a brand that you know exactly what you are going to get. So we know what kind of top line we're going to get. We know we're going to get that little bit thicker look to it. But again, we know exactly what it's going to be, and it hasn't changed over the years. So for years and years, Ping have been obviously focused towards the beginner golfer. They've got a lot of good tour players, but they are certainly a club for me, especially where I'm from in Yorkshire in England, where a lot of golfers do start out with Pings and they do stay with them for a long time. They know what they're going to look like. They also know exactly how they are going to perform. Down at the golf ball, we exactly know what we're looking at. And the interesting thing for me with these clubs is not only are they ever so easy to hit, they sound fantastic, they launch nice and high, and that's gone a very long way here on the par 5, but a lot less offset than the last 2 clubs, so we're not getting as much relief for that. And this is where it's going to tick boxes for a lot more golfers, and for me down at the golf ball isn't as off-putting. If you're starting to improve, you might not like the look of the offset, and then you won't have to change from these clubs. So guys, that has been my top 3 irons for handicappers above 15 really, and that's where it's interesting. You don't have to be a beginner golfer to be using these. These really can help your game, make it a lot easier for you to play. I just want to hit one more shot here with that Ping 430 because it does feel fantastic. And yes, we're going to be in coming weeks going through which are the best clubs for potentially for lower handicapper golfers, maybe 18 and below. If you don't want something too forgiving, if you don't want something too thick, then we're going to be looking at options that you could go to that will help your game. But for me, these make it ever so easy. There's some fantastic options on the market, but for me, you know exactly what you're getting from a Ping. That's why it's my number 1. Because even there with a miss hit, that's bouncing just short. I'm running onto the green. I've got the forgiveness. Guys, we've also got the Tacomo 101 in at number 2 and the Stealth HD iron in at number 3. 2 fantastic options. Again, all different prices from these irons, so it's all about your budget, but make sure you go and get fitted. And if any of you are looking for fittings for any of these clubs that you do see on the channel, please do drop us a call on that number below. It'll be Kyle, who is our specialist fitter here at Waterfront. But comment below also what more clubs you want to see tested, what do you want to see going into the winter, as I'm going to be doing more testing and more new products, and do you want to see it with other golfers?